friends, welcome back to my channel. And if you're new, welcome to my channel. My name is Jackie. And let's get started.
For DIY number one, I'm taking one of these lemon themed placemats from the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to snip it up until I get all my little lemon out of it. And here I have a wood little truck from fall. I still had this on hand in my stash. So I'm going to remove the pumpkins, and I'm just taking a straight razor or utility knife and score it a good 3 or 4 times until it just snaps right off. And then I'll go over and finish it up, remove it, I'll save the pumpkins for later for another project for the fall. And now I'm going to go in with some black apple barrel paint, and I'm going to paint the fenders and the tires is all with this black paint. So just like this. Paint real quick. And now I'm going to take some of this brushed silver paint from Folk Art, and I'm going to just paint the inside of the wheels, the hubcaps, or whatever you want to call it. Whatever they used back then. I guess just a rim. It would be the rim, yeah. So I paint the rims silver, and now I'm going to go in with some Waverly chalk paint in the color Truffle, and I'm going to paint the wagon portion of the truck with this paint. Like this. And now I'm taking this buffalo check paper. It's not a purchase. I literally just printed it off the internet. That's all I did with my printer. So then I went ahead and glued it to the truck, and now I'm just taking my little finger utility knife to go around the perimeter and remove the major excess of the paper. And then later on I'll go over with my sandpaper to remove the rest. So here I'm just removing the excess. Trying to go gently until I get it all removed like this. And now with the same little knife, I'll go ahead and cut out the windows. There's a larger window and a smaller window, and then the doorway, and then the little handle. So I'll go ahead and pop them all out. And I don't show it, but I did go over the whole thing with some Mod Podge. So here I am removing the excess with my sandpaper. This will help give it a really nice finished edge all the way around. So I'll just keep sanding until it's all off. So it looks like this. Now I'm turning it over, and I'm going to use 4 tumbling tower blocks, and I'm going to glue 2 in a row on the back side where the wagon would be, or the bed of the truck, and place 2 more right on top of the first 2. So I'm trying to create like a bed for the back side. So now here I'm trying to figure out if the lemons are going to show, and they are, so we're good to go. So now I'm taking some of these few pieces of boxwood that I purchased from Walmart, and I'm just going to glue a couple of these sprigs on the sides of the bed of the truck. And now I'm going to begin to place the lemons. So I'm using just a box of baking soda to help prop it up so you guys can see. So I'm going to add a little bit of glue on the back and on the front, and I'm just going to place it until I get it all in place. So now I'm going to go in with this Cricut file that I created, and I'll include this in my description box, the links and everything to all the Cricut files that will be used today. And I'm just adding this just as fresh lemons. I was going to put 50 cents or something, but I forgot. I just forgot. But look how cute! DIY number 2. We'll need 2 of these frames from the Dollar Tree, and these were available around Mother's Day time, and I think they were pretty cute as they are, but I picked up extra, and so the yellow part of it just was screaming to me, yes, lemon collaboration. So I'm taking my little metal scraper to remove the backing, because it's actually held in by pins, these little metal pins. So most of them came up, but there's couple that were left, so I'm just taking my pliers to remove them. So yeah, you just never know how they put these things together sometimes. So the same metal scraper, I'm using it to scrape off all the wording, and it just comes off really easy. I've seen where people are asking, do they use acetone or do they use alcohol? But no, just scrape it off. Okay, so this paper here is another paper that I happen to just print off my computer. So I just chose a free lemon background, and I literally just printed it out. So simple. No need to pay for the good stuff at the store, just print it out. So here I'm cutting away the excess that I'm not going to need. And I'm just using my finger utility knife to do it. And it just cuts it really easy. And so I'm going to save the rest for later. And I'm going to use some dishwasher Mod Podge to adhere it. But first I'm taking some of the extra lemons that are on that paper, and I'm going to do a little bit of a fussy cut to cut them out. So here I'm using the Mod Podge to adhere that one piece of paper that I cut out. And so I'm just going to add the Mod Podge, and I'm just going to simply place the piece of paper on top. I'm not going to worry about the underneath. My paper is pretty thick. You won't see anything through. So here are my little lemons. On this particular piece of this backing, it has like a shiplap look on it, so I'm going to leave that as is. I'm just going to cover up the little flower that's there on the top left. So I'm going to add 2 of the round slices, lemon slices. I'm just going to add them with some Mod Podge, and I'm just going to layer them together, and then I'm going to add the whole lemon on top of the 2 slices, more on the right side, like this. So that'll help cover up that flower that's there. Okay, so now with my frames ready to go, they're all nice and clean, and I use alcohol to actually remove any excess debris that's on there, get them nice and clean. I created these 2 files, these cut files from Cricut Design Space, and I'll include those links as well. And I'm just going to simply put these on the frames, on the glass, and this one says easy peasy lemon squeezy, and the second one says where troubles melt like lemon drops. I love that Over the Rainbow song, so pretty. So here I'm just showing you guys how I like to remove the backing on these decals, these vinyls. So I just take my time and kind of push down and pull up, push down the vinyl and pull up the paper. And actually there's, on both these vinyls, I had 2 lemons on there, and I was going to cut them with some yellow vinyl, but I ran out. I only had like beige, and I thought that would look a little bit funny. So I do end up taking those 2 black lemons out. I wasn't really caring for those 2 black lemons. I leave the one that's taking place of the O on the word lemon on the right side. I do leave that one in place. But the other 2, the 2 black whole lemons, the one on the easy peasy lemon squeezy, and then this other one, I do end up taking those out. And you'll see that at the end, in the final reveal. Okay, so now I'm liking the way it's looking. And so now I'm taking some of these boxwood from Walmart and trimming them up a little bit. And on these I ended up adding a couple of little sprigs on each of the frames, but in the end I ended up thinning them out a little bit more because it was just too much. They're just a little bit too bushy. So here's where I add these 2, and they look cute like this, but once I place them in the frame they look like they're just a little bit too much. And so again, you'll see in the final reveal where I end up trimming them out, and I think they'll look much better when I trim them out. And the same with this one. This one I'll add a couple sprigs. Oh, here I'm just taking some sandpaper to sand off any excess paper on the sides, because this one I added paper all the way around on top of this backing. So I'm just trimming it up so it's nice and finished. And so here I'm adding the sprigs, and I add them to the top. And again, they look good like this, but once I place them in the frames, yeah, not so much. They look a little bit too busy. And yeah, I trimmed them up quite a bit, and then they look much better. So see here, yeah, you can even see where it says easy peasy. So yeah, I ended up fixing that. And then the same with this one. Once I place the frame on there, it's hard to see the bottom. And here's the final look. What do you guys think? For DIY number 3, I'm taking one of these candle holders from the Dollar Tree, and these are one of my favorite candle holders. They're so versatile. You can do so much with these. And also I'm recycling one of these lids from a spring mix that we purchased at, I think it was either Aldi's or Walmart. And I'm trying to kind of guesstimate a circle that will fit inside of the round part of this candle holder. And so I ended up cutting 2 rounds They're not perfect, but they are a pretty good estimate of size. And so here's the second one. This second one is a little bit smaller, but again, it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just trying to fill in that gap that's there. There's like a little gap inside of there. So I'm adding some glue, and I'm adding these two pieces, and I want it to be flush with the whole top of it, the surface, because I'm adding one of these cute little dispensers from the Dollar Tree. All I'm going to do is add some hot glue and glue it on top. And just like this, I have a little dispenser on a cute little candle holder, kind of like a little pedestal, like a little stand. So now I'm taking some of this really cute lemon ribbon from the Dollar Tree. You know, this has been out for a little while, and I've been waiting to use this ribbon for this particular project, and some others actually. So I'm just going to go around the perimeter or diameter of this round, this lid, and I'm just going to add a couple dabs of hot glue. And so I'll pull tight, so that way it's not loose, that way it's nice and tight. I don't want to glue the whole ribbon, I just want to glue a little dab here and a little dab there, and for that to work, it's got to be tight. So now that's on there, nice and tight and nice and adhered and nice and secure. Now I'm going to create a bow, but this particular ribbon is just one-sided. And you know how you fix a one-sided ribbon? You glue two one-sided ribbons together. So yeah, just add a long bead of glue down the side, down the back side, and just sandwich them together like this. And now you have a long two-sided ribbon. So with this ribbon, and it's pretty flexible, I'm just going to create a cute little like shoelace bow, a real cute little easy bow, and just fix it up. And I'm going to just trim off the tails. I wanted to do the dovetail, but with the fact that I glued the ribbons together, I didn't think that would work too well. So I just kind of trimmed them up to the diagonal. And now I'm taking my cute little bow, and I'm just going to hot glue it where the little seam was, where I added the two pieces of ribbon together. And it's super cute. Look at this. So cute. And now I'm taking my whole little setup, putting it together, and I'm going to add another little piece of ribbon to the middle part of what was the candle holder, and now it's just the pedestal to my drink dispenser. The thing kept rolling on me. I had to put something in the way. Okay, so now I'm just going to hot glue a couple little beads, trim off the excess, and I decided to add a little bit of greenery to the base of this, what once was a candle holder and now it's a pedestal. And so I just add a little piece of greenery there. And I have these tiny little lemons that I purchased off Amazon, and I'll include that link in my description box below. But they are so cute. And so now I decided to add a little bit more greenery, and I added to where the other piece of ribbon is at, and I just add a couple dabs and join the two leaves together. And this greenery came from the wildflowers from the Dollar Tree, the greenery portion. Okay, so I'm liking it, but now it's looking like it still needs something. So I created this file also, this cut file, and it says have a zest for life. And all today's cut files will be included in my description box below in one file. They'll all be there. And also I didn't show it, but I added some sliced lemons to the walls of this dispenser. What do you guys think? For DIY number 4, I'm taking one of these hello words made out of the wood, the MDF wood from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to simply add a long piece of the painter's tape to almost the center, not quite, maybe like a third way down, and I'm just going to go in with some of the bright yellow apple barrel paint. Yes, I'm going to paint this whole portion with this bright yellow, and once it's dry, I'll remove the painter's tape. That satisfying moment when you have clean lines. Hello, yellow. Oh, I love that. That's so cute. And now I'm going to set that aside because I'm going to begin with DIY number 5. And on this one, I'm taking 2 of these terracotta pots from the Dollar Tree, and I'm not going to paint them or anything. I'm just going to simply embellish them with this scarf from the Dollar Tree. And I love this scarf. This just screams lime and lemon to me. So I'm just taking it and folding it in half and simply just cutting it I'm just going to cut this in half to create 2 pieces, and then all I'm going to do is wrap around each pot and just tie a nice big fluffy knot. And that's it as far as the pot itself. So I'll do that to both pots and remove this little tag. Definitely don't want the tag. And now with both pots ready, I'm taking one of these styrofoam balls from the Dollar Tree, and I'm taking my metal scraper and simply cutting it in half. And I'll place some hot glue on each pot and place one half ball in one and one half ball in the other. And now all I do is embellish with some of these lemon picks from Walmart and this one from the Dollar Tree, and that's it. What do you guys think? For DIY number 6, I'm taking one of these wood pieces from my thrift store, my local thrift store, and I believe I paid $1 for it. Not really sure if it was from a shelf or what, but that's okay. I'm about to utilize this for a decor piece. So I'm just going to sand it up a little bit so I can paint it, and I'm going to go in with some Waverly antique wax, and I'm just going to brush it on with my Plaid brushes. Oh, and by the way, Waverly is also Plaid. And now I'm going to go in with a baby wipe to kind of help spread everything a little bit more evenly and remove the excess. And once I get it the way I want it, to the tone that I'd like, then I'm going to go in with this paper cutout. And this paper cutout pack has all kinds of fruit cutouts, and they're pretty large, pretty substantial. So I picked up the lemon wedge, and I'm going to go in with my dishwasher Mod Podge that's also from Plaid. Yes, it is. And I'm just going to simply add the Mod Podge to it and adhere it to my wood piece. And I'll go over it with Mod Podge on the top as well. And once it's dry, I'll add a nice dab of glue to the center, and I'll add these 2 pieces of boxwood from Walmart and a little tiny mini rose from the Dollar Tree just to embellish it. And just to give it a little bit more cuteness, I'm also adding this sweet decal from Cricut. And that's it. What do you guys think? If you're on Instagram, I invite you to follow me there. I like to post pretty regularly. I do stories, reels, and regular posts, and they're usually things that I don't post on YouTube. So all you have to do is take your cell phone camera and scan this QR code, and it'll take you right to my profile. For DIY number 1, I'm taking this decorative nautical rope from the Dollar Tree, and it's in the cream colored, and I'm going to remove the tape off one end, actually both ends, and I'm going to completely take it apart. So all 3 strands, I'm going to take them apart completely until I end up with 3 bunches of the rope. So I'll set that aside. And now I'm taking one of these foam rings from the Dollar Tree. It's for a wreath. Remove the sticker, and I'm going to go in with some of this burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to take this ribbon and completely wrap this whole foam ring with it. So I'm going to add a small little dab of glue, and just a small tiny little dab will work because you don't want to melt the foam ring because it is styrofoam. And I'm using my little silicone spatula to help me not burn my fingers. So now I'm just going to wrap this whole ribbon around the whole ring. And so I'm just going to keep wrapping until I get it to this. And it pretty much takes the whole roll of ribbon. And so now I'm just going to add a small little dab of glue and hold it in place. And now I'm going to take some of this nautical rope jute from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to open it up, and I'm just going to begin and add a little dab of glue to hold it in place, same spot where my other dab of glue is at. And I'm just going to hold it for a second because this is pretty thick. So once dry, I'm going to add one of the strands of the nautical rope that I took apart, that I separated from the rope. And I'm just going to add a little dab of glue and hold that in place side by side. And so now I'm going to just slowly take the 2 bunches of rope and just start wrapping this whole wreath with it. And right here you can see I need to cut this off. This is just too unraveled. And I do add a little dab of glue to help secure it in place. And so now I'm going to proceed and start wrapping this rope. And for those of you who have been following me for a while, you know that I love using twine and rope. And so this is one of my things. I just love to twine up things and rope up things, and so I had fun doing this. I really enjoyed this. This relaxes me. So as you take both in your hand and just keep wrapping, it'll fall in place. And so look, it's looking cute. So this is one full rope of the brown rope, and then one of the strands of the nautical rope. And so I'm just going to glue that in place to secure it. And I'll continue the same process until I get it all the way around, get it all wrapped. And for this particular size wreath form, it took 2.5 of the nautical rope jute and 2.5 of the strands of the white rope. And so I just continue this until I get it done. And that's just as easy as this is just so easy. I need to glue all the sections, and then that way, if in the future I want to reuse the rope, I can reuse it. So I'm just going to glue where it starts and where it ends. And the burlap ribbon will serve two purposes for me. It will help hold the rope in place, and it'll help conceal the green. And so if anything peeks through, you'll see brown. So that's just the way I look at it. But I'll just continue this until I get it all done. And then once I reach to the very end, I'm going to add another dab of glue just to hold it down. And look, it's looking cute. And now I'm going to go in with my lighter to burn up all the little fuzzies, because this rope jute had a lot of little fuzzies, so I wanted to clean it up a little bit. And it didn't affect the white rope at all. No effect at all on it. So it was really pretty good. So I just go around the whole thing. And now I'm ready for the florals. And so I'm going to use some of these spike, which are the blue, and these Gerber daisies, which are so pretty this year, both from the Dollar Tree. So I'm going to snip them all open or apart and do the same thing with the spike. I love the color of the spike. And so now I'm going to attempt to take one of these little picks, and kind of push it into the rope, in between the ropes. So once I get that on there, then I have a good sturdy base. And I'll just do the same thing. I'll just poke them through the rope, and the rope itself will hold all these florals in place. I do end up taking two florals that I cut pretty short on the stem, and I ended up gluing those two in place because I wanted them to be a little bit closer. But for the most part, I just poked them through just the rope, and the rope held it in place. So now I'm going to take some more of this burlap ribbon, and I'm just going to create a quick little bow just by folding it 3 times, and then adding a little bit of glue to hold it in place. And I'll use 2 of the Dollar Tree clamps to help hold it down so I don't burn my fingers. In the meantime, I'll create the little tail for the bow. So I'm just going to fold the end and dovetail it, and I'll do the same to both sides. I kind of wish the piece of ribbon was longer, but this is all I had left. So I'm going to cinch the center, take my 2 pieces and put them together, and I'm going to tie them together with the little piece of zip tie that I had left over from one of the ropes. And once my bow is assembled and all nice and tight with my little zip tie, I'm going to just simply fluff up the bow till I get it how I want it. And then just to give it a little added touch, I'm going to take a small little piece of the white rope, and I'm going to conceal the zip tie with it, and I'll glue that in place. And then once I'm done with that, all I have to do is glue it down to my wreath, and that is it. I'm done. For DIY number 1, I'm taking one of these wood puzzles. They're from the children's section of the Dollar Tree, and the back of it is wood. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up, and I'm going to hot glue all the pieces to it. And now I'm going to go in with some Waverly Antique Wax and a baby wipe, and I'm going to paint a quarter of this piece like this. And then I'll take some of the Waverly white chalk paint and get the other side in white. And then I'll go in with some of the agave and do that section, and then lastly some Waverly chalk paint in the color Ocean. So I'll have this color combination, and now I'll go back in the white Waverly chalk paint and just dry brush on the colored sections like this. And now I'll go in with some Apple Barrel bright yellow on the white part so it won't be so stark white, and also to give it a little bit of a sunshine because Florida has a lot of sunshine. So this is my sunshine part. And from the Cricut design space, I cut out this vinyl that's the shape of Florida with home on the inside. But as I lay it on my board, I noticed that the top part of Florida kind of disappears in that part. So I go ahead and, I don't show it, but I go ahead and add some Waverly antique wax to the top portion as well. And then that helps it look a little bit better. So right here. So now you can see a little bit better. And then I also created these words out of vinyl, and they just say Florida days, beach days, flip-flop days. Yes, those are definitely my favorite days. The beach days, and of course flip-flop days, that's every day for me. Definitely every day. So I'll just put these on really quick, and now I just flip it over to the back and cover it up with some of the Dollar Tree contact paper because it's really quick and easy. And now I'll have to get rid of that little writing that's on there, so I'm taking one of these little flip-flops from a sticker pack, a wooden sticker pack from the Dollar Tree, and I'm removing the existing adhesive, and I'll just use some of my hot glue to adhere this to my little sign. So just like this, I'll place it right on that wording. It's like the little maker mark on there, the brand name on there. And now I'll go in with some of this nautical rope and place it on the outside edge to give it that coastal look. And then that is it. I'm done. What do you guys think? This DIY, I'm using these cute little shadow boxes from the Dollar Tree, and some of the ears were broke off, so I got them for 50 cents each. So I'm just going to remove all the stickers off of them. I'm going to leave the hangers on them because I'll use them. And I'm not going to paint the frame itself because it's practically the same color that I'll be using for all of these DIYs today, but I will paint the inside. And I'm not going to do a perfect job because you'll see why. So I'm going to go in with some Waverly chalk paint in the color white, just one coat. And I'm also going to use whatever's left on my brush to dry brush on the outside perimeter of this whole frame, just to give it that weathered look that we all like. Once I get that done, I'm going to go in with some of these shells. I have this bowl of shells. Most of them are from the Dollar Tree, and so I'm just going to start gluing them onto the insides of these shadow boxes, and that's why I didn't have to paint twice. That's why I didn't really care about painting the inside too much, because you're not going to really see much of it anyway. So I'm just going to start placing these down as petals. So I'm going to attempt to create flowers out of these shells. So I start with 5 pretty good sized ones, and then I'll add some smaller ones on the insides, and then I'll add some smaller ones than that until I start creating what looks like a flower. So now that's up to interpretation. I mean, I think it looks like a flower. What do you guys think? So now I'm taking these tiny little, they're like spiral shells. I don't know what they're called. You would think I would know what they're called, but I don't know what they're called. And I'm going to start gluing these onto each other to create the center of a flower. And I forget what that is called. And it's on the tip of my tongue. I know it starts with an S, but I don't know. I can't remember. So anyway, I just start gluing these little pieces to create the middle portion of the flower. And once I have that pretty much done, then I'll hot glue them on the inside, and whatever gap is left, I'll just continue to add some more until it fills the whole inside of the flower. And I forget what that is called. Somebody comment down below and let me know, what is the center of a flower called? What do you guys think? Do you think that looks like a flower? for DIY number 3, I'm taking 2 more of these little shadow boxes from the Dollar Tree, and then these have the glass inside and the writing inside. So with these, my best bet is to take a scraper and scrape off the words. So I'm going in a downward motion just because it's easier for me, but I'm making sure that my thumb is on the other side of the frame. I don't want to get cut. But if you feel safer to go upwards, go upwards. But for me, it was just easier to go downwards. It was like it's like an easier way to remove all the writing, all the print that's on here. So once I get that done, it doesn't take me long. Once I get it done, then I'll wipe it all clean, get all the stuff off of it. And now I'll remove these little clips that are on there. I'm not going to use it. I'm not going to use them. Instead, I'll just hot glue the backing this time. And now I'm ready to paint, and I'll go in with some of the Waverly chalk paint in the color Agave. And so just like this, got them all painted. And with some of the white chalk paint, I'll dry brush this frame as well with my chunky chippy brush. And I'll just go around the whole frame. And now with the backboards of these frames, I'm going to trace out some scrapbooking papers. And I'm going to go in with some of the Mod Podge, the matte one. And I'm just going to adhere these papers onto the backing, the 2 backings, like this. And now I went looking through my laser cut stash, and I found a cute little angelfish, and I found a dolphin. So hey, those represent Florida for sure. So I placed a little angelfish on one piece, and I placed the dolphin on the other. And I have some very fond memories of snorkeling at the Keys with my mother and looking at all the angelfish, and then also seeing the dolphins swim around. So yes, these definitely represent Florida. So now I'm going to add some fun things to my little shadow boxes. I'm going to add some cute pearls just to give it a little bit of a glam style, and some of these tiny little shells from the Dollar Tree, and some more of these little spiral shells also from the Dollar Tree. And then this will just give it like a little shaker box kind of look. And all I have to do now is glue my piece back on to the frame. And look how cute they look, super cute. So using my Cricut, I also decided to cut out some words for these frames for the outside. And I just did beach days for one and Florida days for the other. And I kind of wish I would have made them a little bit bigger, but it is what it is. But what do you guys think? So cute. For DIY number 4 and my last DIY of this video, I'm taking these 2 galvanized flower metal planters, and I'm using my crocodile to cut or poke some holes on the back, 2 holes on each. But in the end, I realized I didn't need them at all. So you can actually skip this part if you want to, and you'll see in the final reveal that I don't even use the holes. But it was my idea to use the holes, so I made the holes. Okay, so now I'm going to go back in with some more of the agave paint and paint them up. And I'm also going to go in with some of the white chalk paint to dry brush as well. So I'll get everything all nice and dry brushed. Try to get the wording to pop out, and also add the white on the top and the bottom rims just to give it that extra coastal look. And I'll just continue to go. And I'll do the back side, the inside, I'll do all of it. I even did the underside. And now I just need my S-hooks to hang these up in my garden. But like I said, I end up now using the holes. So here's how they look, all finished, ready to go in the garden. And then now I'll show you how they look in the garden, but the hooks are underneath. The hooks will be holding the pots from underneath and not the holes, like this. For DIY number 3, I'm taking one of these really pretty wood look picture frames from the Dollar Tree, and it's really pretty, and it's an 8x10, so it's a really nice size. The problem with this frame is that it was broken. There's glass everywhere, so I ended up getting it for 50 cents, which was a really good deal for me because I don't need the glass. So I'm just going to very carefully remove all these shards of glass. I don't need them. And look at the frame, it's pretty. So I'm going to go in with some Waverly chalk paint and the color plaster, and with my little chunky chippy brush from Dollar Tree, I'm just going to add a tiny little bit of paint, and I'm just going to lightly brush it on the frame, going with the grain. And look what it does to it. Wow. It just highlights all of the raised parts of the frame, and you can see all the wood grain. So pretty. Look at that. Wow. So I'll just get it like I want it, allow that to dry, set it aside for a second. In the meantime, I'm taking some scrapbooking paper that I had on hand, and I'm going to just place it on my back part of the frame and kind of cut it with my finger utility knife, and place it in my frame like this. So now I'm taking some of these really pretty shells from the Dollar Tree, and when I found these at the Dollar Tree, oh my goodness, I was so excited because these shells are beautiful. They are really pretty, and there's all kinds of sizes in there, so I was excited to use this. So here I am taking them out, and I'm trying to choose the smallest ones. So first I decided to do 3, but then I changed my mind and decided to do 4. So what I'm doing is I'm making flowers out of these shells. Yes, and look how cute. So here I decided to do the 4, and I was hoping that there was enough of the tiny ones because some of them are pretty big. My frame is not that big. It's 8x10, but I mean it's not a 11x13 or 17. So now here I'm taking some of this nautical rope, now that I have my shells placed where I want them, and I'm going to just snip off. Well, first I'm going to remove this plastic part. I don't need it. And I'm going to figure out how long I want my stem of my flowers to be. So I'm using my EMT shears and snipping it because this rope is hard to cut with regular scissors, I tell you. So here I have it all in place, and I'm going to also go in with some of this jute twine I've been using all day, and I'm just going to make a quick little bow, and those are going to represent the leaves on my flowers. So I'll do 2 of those, and right now I'm just placing everything how I want them before I commit to the glue. And so I'm also going to take some of this white nautical rope, and I'm just going to cut a tiny little bit, literally it's 2 inches or less of it, and I'm just going to take it apart and just use 2 strands. These strands will be the center of my flower with a little pearl in the center of it. How perfect. So just like that, I'm going to glue it all up. And now I'm just going to add one of these cute little laser cuts from the Dollar Tree, and this one is the cute little angel fish. And I'm just going to add a little dab of glue to the back, and I couldn't decide if I wanted to be swimming away or swimming towards the little underwater flowers, but I ended up doing to the left, swimming away. But look how cute. If you're on Facebook, I invite you to join our fairly new crafting group, and it's called Family and Budget Friendly Crafting World, and join in and share some of your crafting creations. For DIY number 1, I'm taking 3 of these little houses from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to remove all of the jute twine that's on them, and I'm also going to take my metal scraper and remove any excess glue off of them, and also my little finger sander to remove any residue. So once I have them ready, I'm going to go in with some paint, some red, white, and blue. And just like that, they're all painted, and I painted the circles white. So now I'm taking some of these little stickers. I wanted to use the larger ones, but I didn't have a large S. So I'm going to have to go with the mid-sized ones. And I'm just going to simply add U, and then S, and then A onto these cute little houses. And I want to keep them simple. I want to keep them very plain and simple, because when I embellish them, that'll be just enough for these little houses. So now I'm going to add the jute twine back on the way it was on there before. I really like that look, and I think with these colors it just goes really well with it. So I'm just going to add a dab of glue, and I'm going to start with the middle and add a jute twine on there, hold it with my silicone spatula, and just start wrapping, and it should fit perfectly because it came off of it. So now I'm going to add another dab of glue to secure it in place, and I'll do this to all 3 of the little houses like this. And now I'm going to add the little bows, and pretty much I'm done. That's it. What do you guys think? Super cute. DIY number 2, I'm taking one of these cement garden pieces from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to remove the jute twine that's on it because it's a pretty weak one. It's not very strong. I want to put something stronger on it. And I'm going to go in with some of the spackle from the Dollar Tree. This is pretty good. And my little silicone spatula to apply it and cover up all the wording on it. And so now the colors pop a little bit better. And I'm going to go in with the white apple barrel paint, and now it's really going to pop better. And now I'm going to go in with some of the stencils from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to add a few numbers on this piece and just stencil it. And I'm going to use the bright blue from Apple Barrel to do the stenciling. And just like that, look how cute. It becomes an address piece for your home. You can turn these into an address piece. It almost looks like it says boy, but no, it's a number. But look how cute. You can totally put any address on here, any home address, home number. And now I'm going to go in with some of this wire jute twine, and this is going to take place of the jute twine that was on there. This is a little stronger, this will last longer, and I'm just going to thread it through and secure it by twisting it, and do the same to both sides. And just like that, look how cute. And now I just want to give it a little bit of a distressing, so I'm going to go in with some of the Waverly Antique Wax and just real lightly with my chippy brush, just to stress it a little bit, to give it a little bit of aged look, because now it's looking a little bit too bright white. But yeah, just a little bit, it gives it a little effect. And you're just going to go over the whole piece. I even do some of the flowers too, just a little tiny bit. And look how cute. It's so cute. What do you guys think? For DIY number 3, I picked up this little decor piece from my local thrift store. It was only $2, and I got it for actually $1. And look how cute. It's got little slats on it, and it's got this metal piece. So I'm going to first remove this metal piece because I want to do a good paint job on it. So with my tiny little screwdrivers, I'm going to remove this little metal piece, and if you look at it closely, it's a bunch of little stars. So I don't know what these little stars have to do with Christmas, because it says something about Santa on here and Grammy. But that's okay. We're going to change this up. So remove the little metal piece, and now I'm going to go in with my red, white, and blue colors, and just like that, it's painted. So now I'm going to go in with some of the antique wax from Waverly and give it a little distressing. And so I'll just distress this a tiny little bit to get it like I like it. And once it's dry, then I'll put my little metal piece back on the blue part, and I'll use my little screwdriver to put that back on. So yeah, when you go to thrift stores and you see things, yeah, even though this was a Christmas piece, I totally turned this into a patriotic piece. Just gotta kind of like, think outside the box. Okay, so now on the rest of it, I'm going to leave it as is. I was going to put some wording on it, but I think I'm going to use this piece instead, this little wood home piece from Dollar Tree. And I'm going to go in with the red, white, and blue as well. And also I'm going to do the brushed silver for the O. And so just like that. And now I'm going to distress this as well with some more of the Antique Wax by Waverly. And I wanted the O to be a little bit different. I don't want it to be just a typical O. So now I'm going to go in with this decor piece from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to remove the star because it's galvanized metal. Remove the little backing on it. And look, so cute. All I'm going to do now is hot glue the star onto the O. And it almost looks like it should be a Texas thing. I don't know with that star. But no, it goes with red, white, and blue, of course. And look how cute. So cute. So now all I have to do now is just glue this piece onto the top of my little decor piece. So just a couple of beads of glue. Place it in the center on the top. And I'm going to leave it as is. You can always, if you do something like this, you can always add more words on it. But I'm going DIY number 4 and my last DIY of the day. I'm taking this cute little, it's like a shadow box frame from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to remove all the embellishments, and I'm going to heat up the glue that glues the backing onto the frame. And look at me, I'm multitasking. So as I heat up the glue, just to get it a little bit weak, I'm going to go in with my metal scraper and I'm going to pry it in there and pry this backing open. And it'll tear up some of the paper on it, but that's okay. We're not going to use the paper that's on there. So now, gotta remove all this excess paper, and I use my little finger sander to remove the rest of it. Get all that excess paper off. We want it nice and clean. And if you guys hear noises in the background, it's my grandson and my doggies. They're in the background, kind of making noises. Anyway, so here I painted it white with some white apple barrel paint, and I'm gonna go in with some of this satin Mod Podge from Plaid, because I'm now a Plaid ambassador. And I'm just going to brush it on completely, cover up the whole piece. And now I'm taking one of these bandanas from the Dollar Tree. They come 2 in a pack. I decided to take this print that looks very much like a flag, and I'm going to place that on there and smooth it out. It doesn't have to be perfect because flags are not perfect as far as being smooth. So, you know, they're in the wind and they ripple and all that. So here I'm removing the excess of this bandana, which I really like the print. I really like the little stars on it. They're different patterns, and some are solid and some are hollow. And now I'm going to go in with some more of the Mod Podge, let it dry. It becomes real stiff. And so now with my finger utility knife, I'm going to trim off the edges, and I'll do this to 3 sides until it comes off. And then the last side, I just go ahead and cut it off with my scissors because it has a little like sewn edge on it. So I just go ahead and use my scissors for this part. And so now it looks like this, and like I said, it's nice and stiff, so it's not going to go anywhere, it's not going to come off. And now I'm going to place this back on my frame, and I'm just going to add a few dabs of glue to add it. Or should I say beads of glue? I add a few beads of glue, add this frame, and just like that, flip it over, and now I have a backdrop for something special. And now I'm taking some of these little army men from the Dollar Tree, and I choose the green ones because I don't know, I just kind of like the green ones. I was thinking of painting them all in a pewter gray color, but then I decided to stick with the green. So now I'm just going to hot glue them on. But if you do this, you can totally paint them. And now with my Cricut, I cut out this vinyl that says "Thank you for your service," and I'll include this file in my description box. DIY number one, I'm going to take one of these US maps. They are the color your own decor from the Dollar Tree, and they're made out of wood. And I'm going to go in with some satin Mod Podge and saturate this whole front. And now I'm placing one of these bandanas from the Dollar Tree, and it's a real thin bandana, and then you can choose whatever bandana you like, or you can even do a scarf. And so now I'm going to saturate the top of that, and once it's completely dry, you can still see the outline of the states, which is pretty cool. And now I'm going to take my little finger utility knife, and I'm going to very carefully cut away the excess fabric from the wood piece. And so if you place enough Mod Podge on it, it'll be a very clean cut. But right here, I'm going to show you what happens if you cut it and then there's not enough Mod Podge. Look at this. If there's not enough Mod Podge on your fabric, it cuts it very messy, very frayed, very messy. But if you have Mod Podge, it's very clean cut. And look how nice it looks like this. Cute. So now I'm taking one of these little easels from Dollar General, and I don't remember if it was $1 or $1.50, but either way, it was a really good deal. And I'm just going to paint it with some apple barrel paint in the color white. And I'm taking some of these little magnets from the Dollar Tree. I'm just going to take 2, and I'm going to hot glue a magnet to the middle portion, the top middle portion of the easel. And I'm going to figure out where I need to place it on my wood piece, my map. And so I just put a dab in that spot, and now I can use this easel for other DIY number 2, I'm taking one of these Crafter Square star wooden ornaments, and it's one of those chunky stars, pretty thick wood. And so I'm going to go in with some of the Mod Podge, the satin one, and some of this fat quarter fabric from Walmart. I thought the print was really cute. It's kind of like pie in the shape of flags. And so I'm going to do the same thing as the first DIY. I'm going to saturate it with some of this Mod Podge until I get a really good coat. And now I'm going to take a small corner from this fabric, and I'm just going to place it on top and press it down, smooth it out. And I'm going to saturate the top portion with some more of the Mod Podge. And I'll just really soak it up well. That way it has a really good coverage on it. And when it's time to cut it with my finger utility knife, it'll cut clean like my first project. And I'll set it aside for it to dry. And once it's dry, and look at this, it's nice and stiff, I'm going to go in with my utility knife again, my little finger utility knife, and I'm going to just cut. And it cuts so well because there was plenty of Mod Podge. And I'll continue to cut this fabric until I get it all clean like this. Nice clean edges. And now I'm taking some of these wood cutouts from the Dollar Tree from Crafter Square. And in this pack you get stars, I think flowers and hearts, but I'm just going to use the stars. And so now I'm going to take some of this deco tape, and it's the real thin tape, and I'm just going to place it to form stripes, and I'll do that to both of these like this. And now I'm going to go in with some apple barrel paint in the colors flag red and white, and I'll paint them all up, and I'll just get them to look like this. And now I'm taking one of them, and I'm going to hot glue it to the back of my chunky star. And in today's projects, I will be leaving a lot of the wood showing, a lot of the natural wood showing. It's kind of like an element that I would like these projects to have today. So now I'm taking one of these headbands from the Dollar Tree, and look at this. It has lots of ribbon and some of those deco tubes. I don't know what they're called. Deco mesh tubes maybe. And I'm just going to pull the whole thing off because it's just glued on there. And I'm also pulling off the stars. I'm going to use everything except for the headband. So now I'm going to take this little Hot Wheels truck. It's a very vintage looking truck. And I'm just going to add a dab of glue, well actually a nice glob of glue. And I'm going to add one of these little stars with the little spring on it. And on the second star, I'm going to remove the spring. And I just use my pliers for that. And once I remove the star, I'm going to add some glue to the back. And I'm going to just attach this to the top of the truck like this. So the 2 stars are just on there. And look how cute. This is just a little bonus DIY. Just why not? I had the stars, so why not? And now going back to my chunky star, I'm just going to add a nice big glob of glue to the bottom side, and I'm just going to simply attach this whole setup, this whole gathering of ribbon and the tubing, and I'm just going to add it on there until it's nice and dry, And I'm going to reinforce it with a little bit more glue just to make sure it doesn't fall off. And that is it. I am done. DIY number 3 and my last DIY of the day, I am taking some of these beads from the Dollar Tree and Amazon, and I'm going to string it on some of this jute twine from Walmart. So the colorful beads are from the Dollar Tree and the natural beads are from Amazon, and like I mentioned, the jute twine is from Walmart. So I'll string them on like this, and now I'm taking one of these little wooden tags from Dollar General, and I'm just going to simply tie a double knot, make sure it's nice and secure, nice and tight. And once I get that nice and tight and secure, then I'll take the end of that jute twine and I'll thread it back through 2 of the beads just to reinforce it. That way it won't come out, you won't see the end, and it would look like a better quality beaded garland. And now I'm just going to pull the beads back down and snip off the excess. And now I'll create a tassel, and I'll open my fingers pretty wide. That way it'll create a longer tassel. And I think I go around a good 15 times or so until I get it to the thickness that I'd like. And being that this is a better quality twine, it doesn't take a lot. It just takes a good number, a good 15 times or so. Okay, so now I'm going to secure it with another knot on the end of the garland, and I'll do a double knot so it's nice and secure. And I'll take another piece and I'll wrap around the top just to create that tassel, and I'll double knot that as well, snip off the excess, and now I'll take that end and thread that through at least 1 or 2 of the beads. I know I do the first one, I don't remember if I did the second one. I did add a little dab of glue just to make it easier to thread it, and so here I'm just threading it back through just so you won't be able to find the end, just like this. And now all I have to do is cut open the tassel and give it a little trim, and that is it for the tassel portion. Now to help embellish the tag, I'm going to leave it natural because, like I mentioned earlier, I want to have a natural look to these DIYs. And I'm taking this set of window clings, I'm just taking the tiny little stars and placing them on there, and I'll go in with some Mod Podge to adhere them, because you definitely don't want to use hot glue. This is plastic. So a little bit of Mod Podge, and then just stick them down like this, and then add some more Mod Podge on top of all of it, and then that way they'll stay on there, they won't come off, and they'll be nice and secure. So you let that dry, and then we'll work on the other side. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give me a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't yet, and if you want to see more, definitely subscribe. And until my next videos, stay healthy, safe, and strong, and have a great day. Bye-bye.